Radio Raheem here with Danny Jacobs. You know, I always say Danny, but I've heard it both ways. Do you prefer Danny or Daniel?
I actually prefer Daniel. I think I'm a little bit more mature now. Danny was a childhood nickname, but people started calling me out that throughout my career, and then once they started writing me checks under Danny Jacobs, and I couldn't take it to the bank. Okay, I said it's time to change my name. It's time to really call me by my true name, and Daniel is what I like to go by. But my close friends and family call me Danny.
Now, see, I've been interviewing you for years. I never asked that question before. When I seen this jacket, I said he's Daniel now.
All right, that's it.
But serious business, man. The last time a fight that I covered of yours, a big fight. I know you had the Moore fight in between, but really, Peter Quillen was your last big fight. It was the Battle of Brooklyn. And it seemed like it irritated you a little bit because you didn't feel like Quillen was from Brooklyn. He came in with some fanfare and people thought he would win that fight. And obviously, first round knockout, tremendous win for you. Now you've got a guy who's certainly not from New York. You fought in the Garden more than he has.
Yeah.
And it seems like, you know, the battle for New York on his terms. How do you see this fight? And is that important to you to win this fight in the Garden in New York?
I think it's very important. I think it's just add icing to the cake. Every fight is important to win, but this is the mega fight. This is the pinnacle. You know, he's a multiple world champion. He has all the belts, and I believe that he's my toughest challenge to date. So in that regards, I have to be successful, and I have to be exceptionally well, and I have to show the world what my makeup is inside that ring. But to do it in Madison Square Garden in New York where my family and my friends and my true support system would be there, it was just, you know, it would be the icing on the cake.
You came up here and one of the first things you said, or at least the strongest thing I heard, was like, I fear no one.
Right.
We all know what you've been through in your personal life. It's debatable whether that does or doesn't help people in the ring. But what, when it comes to boxing, is it that makes you feel like there's nothing to fear from the most prominent knockout artist right now of our day?
Well, you have to understand, I mean, boxing is 80% mental. And if your mental is intact, then everything else will fall into play. I believe a lot of guys are beaten before they actually step into the ring with him because of fear. And you have to understand, taking nothing away from him, but you have to understand what I've been through, where I come from, all that I am, all my makeup. I have no fear whatsoever of anyone. Win, lose, or draw, every time I step into that ring, I'm going to give it my all, but I'm not going to be beaten and defeated before I step in there. And that's what I meant. You know, a lot of guys say, oh, but you have this to worry about, you have that to worry about. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's several challenges that I have to overcome inside this fight.
Kell Brook ultimately got knocked out in brutal fashion, really, almost permanently injured. But before that happened, he had success. We saw him land shots on Triple G that maybe we hadn't seen anybody land before. Did you learn anything from that fight? Are there things that you can take away and feel like you can do even better than Kell Brook to get this win?
Well, I believe I've been studying Gennady for some years now, and I think it's not just with the last performance, but throughout the years, all of his performances, you can look and you can nitpick certain things that, you know, I would do differently, and I would apply certain things that would make me successful. So I can't take away from one fight and say, okay, well, Kell Brook did this to him, so, you know, I can do this. No, boxing is different. He can train differently, he can prepare differently, and he can fight differently. My job is just to be prepared and ready for anything.
When you guys faced off, I even heard people in the audience say, wow, and I know what they meant. You're bigger than him, and people didn't expect that.
Yeah.
You also have, 29 knockouts. You've only 4 guys have, not been knocked out. Are people underestimating your power in this fight? And are you the bigger man? Can you be the bully against Triple G?
Well, time will tell. But am I underestimated? Yeah, absolutely. I think for me to be a world champion and have the 8-1 or 9-1 underdog thing tag on my head, I just think it's, but for me, it's just add motivation because, when you're facing the big bad boogeyman is what people like to call him, then you want to make sure that all the odds are stacked against you so that you can capture it and show the world, like, this is what you guys thought, this is what I'm able to do, and walk off with all those belts. That's my plan.
You putting any of this purse you finally negotiated on that 9-1 odd?
I try my best not to really get into much of that. My job is to be 100% ready for the fight, to make sure the business is taken care of outside the ring, and I can go in and have a great camp and give the fans what they need and want.
And lastly, Daniel, if all those belts in front of that podium end up coming home with you in March, you will be pretty much overnight a superstar in this sport, and like the world is yours as to what happens next. I know the fight's not over yet, but just looking in that imaginary situation, what would you do? What would you want if you had all but one of these middleweight titles and all that money and success?
Well, I remember as a kid, 15, 16 years old, coming up and always looking at the Brownsville natives. And at that time, Zab Judah was the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. And it was this one picture that he had with all his belts when he was inside the ring. And that picture stuck throughout me, my whole career. And I said, one day that's going to be me. One day I'm going to have all those belts, and I'm going to be the next Brooklyn guy to represent our city and to put us back on the map. Mike Tyson did it, Rick Bowe did it, Shannon Briggs, a handful of guys. And I just feel like I want to be the next guy to come and follow that path.
Daniel Jacobs, Brooklyn's own, taking on Gennady Golovkin at the Madison Square Garden this March, trying to be the man right there in New York City. We look forward to this fight. Thank you for taking it. The fans appreciate that. Radio Raheem with Daniel Jacobs.